Good afternoon, I'm JP Van Seventer. I'm really excited to introduce you to the next speaker, Andrew Walker. Andrew flew in yesterday from Silicon Valley. Andrew and I go way back to somewhere in the fall of 2006, where I had met Andrew trying to pitch my horseback riding game, and I thought he really liked it. Because he gave me a call and I thought, yes, he's finally going to buy it. And he said, no, I'm not really interested in your game with your expensive studio in Damrak, but I'm interested in your student's game because I saw your name on it. And I was like, oh, and I know that guy, so I'll give you a call. So that was the beginning of a pretty intense relationship for the next year, trying to get to buy the game from the students and the school and everybody else involved, which is a real technical, complicated story. But the part that we haven't heard is the part on the insides of THQ and all the gears in there turning and all the secret meetings and ways they evaluate projects and people and development teams. So Andrew here is today going to give a little bit of an inside story on how the purchase of the Blob went on the side of THQ, a big publisher at the time. It was actually the best-selling publisher on Nintendo platforms after Nintendo itself at that time, I remember. So it's really weird because THQ just went down, but at the time it was like a king of the hill. So it was a big publisher, and Andrew was doing business development. Got that? I didn't. So, this is basically the story behind the scenes, and actually there's a couple of guys here from the Blob team, Jasper and Joost, who are now, of course, way over their heads into Ronimo Games, but they know the story from their end, I know the story from my side, but I'm really curious to hear the inside story, so a warm applause for Andrew Walker.
I'm assuming I've got this switched on. Is everything cool? Alright. Okay, well, thank you very much, JP, and thanks for inviting me here to talk about an inside story on the Blob. A little bit about myself, just in case you were wondering. I've been around a bit, and I'm somewhat horrified to say that this is my 20th year in the games industry. I originally graduated in computing science. I'm a former programmer. And probably the quality of programming that I gave is indicative now that I'm a senior business development guy. So I formally a small game developer in Glasgow, working we shipped a game called Playing Crazy, which was one of the first hardware accelerated direct 3D games. In 1998, Microsoft decided that it would be really nice if they had an expert on direct 3D, one of their technical evangelists. And I joined and moved to Redmond in 1998, where I was part of, amongst other things, the Xbox One launch team and the Xbox Live team. In 2003, I joined THQ and became head of business development in Europe initially, before moving to the United States in 2007, where I had everything they want. They come up with stuff that I just on the side of starting up a new consultancy for indies called Game Beauty, which is what I'm doing now. But that's sort of to the side. I'm really going to talk about Blob and what kind of happens there from the inside. In the perfect world, this is your waterfall of what a perfect publishing process should look like. It's a little bit like what really should happen, and of course it never does happen. But if you look at it, you go from what is the evaluation stage where you're pitching, in some cases you're pitching an idea and trying to get people excited about it, and a publisher. The publisher looks at it, gets in a room, decides whether or not to go forward or greenlight some kind of offer. And in doing that, it really establishes some pillars of what the offer is going to be, what does that mean, how can this work, and then through the process of negotiation, really establish the ins and outs of what a deal structure will look like for that particular opportunity. And I wanted to put it up there because that's not what really happened here with the Blob, but it was at least definitely stages that we'll go through to try and map it back. But it's definitely something that I wanted to highlight because there was something very unusual about the Blob deal, and that's why we wanted to talk about it. It was one of a very few number of projects, student projects, that actually migrated from the housing in the school and all the resources there to a game franchise that was a multi-platform. And so it was quite a transition, and it was quite a intricate, delicate deal to get everybody happy because there's a lot of investment, emotional investment, and monetary investment in making even the smallest of games. And what I wanted to do, and this is partly my story and partly THQ's story, as well as the story of everybody else within the process, was to make sure that everybody came away with something that
I like games, I like to draw.
that really laid out something that was not just about money or that was involved. It was about future and about leaving a good taste, and really what every biz dev guy really aims for, which is the win-win.
Get this guy yell at you. It's the client or it's me
And,
or somebody else.
you know, as things happen, as things transpire, it's really the law of unintended consequences.
I love
When I'm surfing the net and I just happen across a post on
Make sure it's relevant. Make
GameDev.net,
sure that you understand.
and I happen to see, that's really interesting.
I like stuff like this.
It's still up there. I can tab it. I've got it up on my browser right now. It's there, and I just thought, hey, I'll download this. This looks kind of cool. It's colorful. Wait a sec. It's a game about Trek. I'm painting the colors, and and it's still fun. And I really thought, well, okay, this is not something I see before. I mean, as a biz dev guy, would see, I don't know, I could go to Game Connection, come back with 150 different pictures. And they're all great in their own way. There's something, when you do that,
This is one of the interns who got hired.
excuse me,
then it comes to portfolio.
dried out my throat. When you do that, you do tend to get intuitions for things that are going to work. Things that will be much bigger than what you see on the screen.
Who actually send in this stuff.
I mean, I'm just looking at it's a quick screenshot that I just picked up
I want to be a concept
from
artist.
an old playthrough, and I was just looking at it going, and I passed it around,
How they like to draw.
and everybody was getting really excited about it. And I'll go into that a little bit more detail, but it was just the purest of happenstance or chance that I happened on Game Dev that day. My producer friends were there, and they had some time to look at it, and it was already getting pages and pages of comments and responses, and yours, who's here listening to me drone on about this, as he was there asking me about this, and really it was, I could see that this wasn't going to be going unnoticed. So I wanted to make sure that everybody in the organization knew about it.
I don't know.
We had never even considered this project before. We certainly considered it an indie project, but this was an entirely different beast than what we had thought about as a publishing opportunity. But I just wanted, one of the things that when I came to write this, I thought, well, PR, I mean, I just recently again, it's come up as kind of this thorny issue. What are some thoughts here? One of the things when this talk is just kind of drop in. Well, did the Blob, what do you learn from that process? What could be impart to maybe some indies and developers out there in the audience thinking about, do I go out and talk about my game? Do I think about who's looking at my game? Are there any dangers in doing that? Well, I don't think there's. I think that and I've held this belief for a long time. The dangers are vastly outweighed by the upside. Not just because of Blob, but think about all of the games. Don't start talking about your games. Don't start building evangelists out in the wide world. We're going to talk about your game. We're not going to build fans. Really, especially in this day and age where you're competing day by day for interest, and day by day with such a lot of different game ideas out there, then nobody's going to think about you. And a lot of developers sort of hide behind NDAs, and they hide behind very closed, very private showings of games. And that's a very conservative way of trying to pitch or make some headway in getting people interested. And NDAs just don't do as much as you think. They don't protect you. They don't protect your ideas. And in fact, most of the time, if you're a small developer and you're talking to a much larger company is going to insist on their NDA, and their NDA is going to be onerous in terms of their protections when they're pitching you're pitching your idea to them, because they're thinking of a lawsuit down the road as well. Your protection is not your ideas. Your protection is your work. And that's where copyright laws come in. Now, I'm not going to stand up here and give you a legal lesson. The legal lesson is really talk to a lawyer about this and your particular situation. Figure out what the best thing to do is. I mean, look at what happened to Spry Fox and Triple Time. Look at what's happening to Blob. And it's a question that comes up and up over and again. And the tendency, at least I found, is that if you've got the time, if the game is there, the people that will follow the IP and not just the ideal. Ridiculous fishing worked out really well for all here, and they're having the same problems again on the browser, quite correctly. But it also ties into how you market your game to the people out there. You want to build fans. You want people to go out there and talk about it. You want to hear something similar. They're going to shout down and they're going to talk about your game as opposed to anybody else that might hear similar. Because you're the ones that are most, your passion is being transferred to your fans. So in this day and age, there's lots of really thorny, interesting questions about how to properly PR your game, but I'm always a fan of being aggressive rather than defensive. So when we got to Blob, we were talking about, for the first time, looking at a student project, which was way more functional than many game pitches that we had that came in. But the question came up with, well, how do we evaluate this? We're looking at this as a business opportunity. What are we looking at here? What is the value of what we're seeing? And I was always talking about potential. Look at it this way. Look beyond the fact you can say no 99 or 999 times out of 1,000 to game ideas and never get any. And my role at implementation is always to look beyond the shortcomings and go, actually no, there's 10 different ways you can say no here. But look at the potential here and dream big. What we saw was something that was, for the most part, this could be our Katamari. That was kind of the mantra that went around. This could be our Katamari. We could get a Katamari game out on the Wii before Katamari. And that sort of internal championing, that sort of, it's a little bit like getting the elevator pitch right, and that's something you have to think about as a developer, whether you're pitching to a publisher or pitching to consumers. It's so important. And in this case, it came out very naturally and organically from just the creative that was put down and or downloaded. it was very clear. It was new, it was fresh, it was bright, it was colorful, and very well executed to the point that we thought, well, this is really a prototype of a game franchise that is just this embryonic form. This could have come from one of our external studios. So this all snowballed. And towards a desire, I mean, at that time in 2006, Nintendo Wii was looking really, really good as a platform. And so we were all playing around about, okay, PC, maybe, you know, maybe that's a good platform to have. Nintendo platforms were really surprising people around about that time, how strong they were. We desperately wanted a new intellectual property on Wii. And
so
I think it's something, you know, that becomes an interesting problem for developers to guessing what publishers want. If publishing is what you want to do, it's all about looking at industry trends. It becomes somewhat difficult task for developers. But nevertheless, you know, you look at some basic industry trends and industry commentary, and you will be not too far off the mark. But it was new, and new confuses marketing people. And marketing people are people who have to, at the end of the day, come up with a business model. Well, normally, because in this case I had to do it. Because when you can, what is typically the way a publisher, even now, looks at an opportunity is what has happened in the past. And that's kind of a very safe, conservative way of predicting the future. Okay, I have a first-person shooter. I think it's going to do 80% of what Call of Duty did.
The main thing is making professional business.
That's really,
that basically breaks down to
okay, so you have your benchmark. In this case, maybe let's say Katamari. Well, Katamari hadn't even come out on Wii at that point. So we had to make all kinds of like thumb and guesswork. What it came down to was a real judgment call of whether taking a risk and looking at the world together and just seeing great franchise on Wii. Awesome unknowns. Great franchise on okay, fine. We're going to do it. We're going to try and make a deal happen. And that's when they do a fun begins. So I wanted to, somebody mentioned it on Facebook thread when I was coming to write this. This is a little cheeky kind of timeline of the effort that went into the deal. There's a real point to why, and right at the end, it goes above 100%, or at least different reasons. We'll come to that. But you can still see how it starts off really, really everything's positive, rolling along. And then, in sort of New Year, things start getting a tail. And it's just a natural kind of cycle, and this is very pronounced. But a deal can die. If you're a deal can die of momentum, the momentum is lost with people either losing interest, deal terms just cannot be, there are conflicts that can't resolve. So
that's the other part.
This short, and in terms of time, you can see that this took a really long time. Why? There are a lot of people involved. It's still the most complicated deal.
The best thing is about 20 to 25 pieces. That's already a lot. And then if you within
so
that,
the first problem I had was who's in charge?
Very strong as well.
We have 9 students. We have a school. And we have a city of Utrecht project. This was a very unusual, not to say unique, set of circumstances by which the project came about. And buying student projects, I mean, as it became, was not something that there was a playbook where you could say, well, I'll just do it like Ubisoft did, I'll do it like Ray did, because nobody did it. I found out there's really good reasons for that. It's really hard.
Look at that and basically see if it exactly has the right.
I talked to JP, and I broke it to him that I'm not really interested in this horse game. So I was really sad.
if it's an application,
The better news was,
show environments.
the better news was
Props or characters,
that
same thing.
he was very kind enough to make some introductions for
What we're looking for.
He saw that I wasn't entirely crazy. That this game, I think, that could become something that the work that went into it was good enough to become something big.
Your first walk cycle that you have to have.
So I raised
all these sort of things, basically, the students were learning
time,
basically what the job requirements is. Just leave them out.
School,
So no pencil sketches, no
city,
native photography,
and
no
I saw
science fiction.
the game as it was presented
So
in the information center
we
in
looked at
the
the
City of
portfolio
Utrecht.
and we didn't anticipate the
Great. And
basically we started looking at your resume.
at that point, I was beginning to figure out just how
In some
difficult
cases, basically, we just skip
a normal
portfolios from people.
deal for publishing is maybe there are two parts.
We might be
The developer is a publisher. Sometimes it's a third. It's the licensor. Holds
So
the
again,
IP,
on the resume,
developers
it's
and
about
building
professional
it.
communication, first and foremost.
Technically speaking,
So
here though,
again, keep it simple.
At least 12
Unless you're a really
months.
good graphic designer,
And
which is
I
unlikely
think
because
that
you're trying to become a game
were
artist,
it not
just keep it
for
very simple. So don't make a garish, over-designed website for your
were it not for some discipline, I think all the way around.
7 cookie performance.
This
They're
deal
maybe
was
sober
not
and simple and not very
And I just wanted to make, and if it comes to what my goal
So also no fancy fonts, no top design. And make sure that somebody proofreads your resume. Things that David showed.
know what you want, know what you can expect.
Two, we never mind a couple of typos on behalf of people that we have.
Because there's always going to be some pain
that's not
that you're going to be asked to accept.
If the whole thing becomes this
Not
giant
everybody gets
puzzle
everything
of trying to
wrong.
figure out what
And that's the same for whether you can buy or
that's a
not
different
sell.
matter. We're going to very quickly
You
give
know
up
you're
on
not
it.
going to get perfect.
Then there's structure.
Yes,
There is
if you are,
formats
that's
to
great.
resumes.
I've
That
seen
is
it
there
happen
for
very
each
yourself.
access. People take
That's
some
why I
time
talk
to
about
figure out.
deal making.
So when you're doing these things,
And
especially with the small
when you walk into something like this, you always have these
If you do,
concerns.
make sure it's there, make sure that it's in order.
What might go
Project
wrong,
first,
and you're going to try and be
this
careful.
first, your life is the last.
So
leave all the non
this is a
stuff out
fairly
there, like
incomplete list of some of the questions that are flying around the town.
And maybe after we look at the portfolio,
Do the students want to make the game themselves?
It's very, very
I
heavy.
mean, they
There
worked
are
on it.
definitely sins in
Seems reasonable.
any
I would
resume
call
that
students
reads
do they
like
want to
job offer on to the
want
company, we're going to get suspicious. Are you shit at your
Do
job?
they want to be in game design, and how can we deviate if we want to?
And then there's of course the work
based
so we look up the type of people that work on it, we look at their
Is
release
using
dates.
the material that's already in the game and so the city itself, which was great, but we were worried that the city of Utrecht,
Nobody makes a
while
fixed employee work.
it may be this done at such a good level, right, would switch off a lot of people from Topeka, Kansas. And so it wouldn't really be
Also,
recognizable
indeed, basically keep
to general
developers. Avoid anything
game
that's
by
not
population.
important. Don't give us
And
long
if it was a
letters
more
of
legal
explanation of why you
mechanical
want to be
thing,
in
this
game
is
design.
something that
Everybody that applies to
risky
be a game
if,
designer. Everybody likes playing desk games with their kids.
in some ways.
It's not really
Talk
that
about
relevant.
the IP, and is
Don't
the
really
IP
want to know about the stuff. You just basically want to know basically what
is
you
it
do and what
some based on something to the point that it might
Yeah.
infringe on
you get to
something
do
else's
this
content?
is actually
We had to do a lot of digging to make sure that we were comfortable with the idea
The first thing
of
basically is that you
taking
need to be
on,
prepared.
buy something, buy a property outright, you're taking on
as
that
HR
liability.
department to do the business.
So
Who
you
will
have to be
interview you?
sure.
If you look up their name,
In this case,
look them up on LinkedIn, Google them,
you know,
see what they've done,
it wasn't
see where
such
they
a
work,
hard
and see what
problem,
type of
but
they work on. These people basically would have to use that stuff.
there's always
It's good
this
basically
paranoia of what you don't know. Is
that
there
research
code?
company,
I mean,
history,
in some
look at
ways,
GDC talks that they've given,
we were going to
titles,
always use it
go learn
basic
about the
code-wise.
titles,
It was
play
like
the titles that they've made.
But maybe
So
there's some
many people
mechanic
think that
somewhere
you're
that
never
something
play
becomes
Kills
similar to ours.
Yeah, you might want to play our game
And really cause
decide to
trouble.
join the company.
And perhaps,
You basically need to know everything basically about this company, about the
you know,
people.
are they
because
a school in the city really even
unfortunately,
interested in
born
closing
basically
this deal?
they ask you
We had gotten so
questions
far.
that you do and give your return are actually much more
Well,
important.
things were beginning to really slow down. We
Your
had
passion, your
some
understanding,
agreement in
your
principle,
insight into the industry and the stuff that we're making.
but when we started to issue contracts,
Then there's be specific. there's a sort of fatal answer to the deadly question in our interviews, and that is basically, what sort of work do you like to do?
Turnaround was amazingly
If you
slow.
don't have an answer to that,
You saw on my timeline that a year
you were
is
making it really hard.
approximately how long it
Because
took
you
me
were
to
trying
start
to
to
figure
finish.
out what you do and what you're good
I've
at.
taken an normal
If you're-
publishing deal,
and then you
3
go, well,
months.
like everything, it sounds like you're trying to be accommodated.
And today, we're talking about mobile game
Something like
publishing.
that.
I've done a lot of
What
deals
you actually
there.
try to do
Talking
there is that you're
less
trying to
than
get
that.
your job interviewer to
Because
figure out what your career needs to do. And that's not his job.
It gets more
That's your
complicated
own
if you
job.
choose finance.
Know what you want and basically be honest about it.
But I imagine, I mean, this is what you're trying to second guess.
Although you hate you being
Whenever you go into
characters, for
the best thing you can do is always trying to
what you
imagine
want to do, what you don't want to do. Vagueness is
what
just
is the other
annoying.
person, what is their concern?
The last one is because probably
pretty
most
much
important is when you're
what
be yourself. Because you're not really
they
close
were
to the
worried
finish
about.
line.
There's no credit.
We pretty much know
is
the facts, the
absolutely
figures, the data that you worked on. We know a lot about your work already. Basically, the
Blob
also
has
is
affected
not
our ability
really
to
about that anymore.
promote because it's
Really
been
more
such a
like
great
At
tool
this
for
point,
the
basically,
school
we're trying to figure out
and for
what
the
sort of
city
person you are.
and for the students
Are you
themselves to
actually
say,
good?
look, look at this.
Are you an asshole? You get in fights with lots of people. Are you
So things were
argumentative and annoying?
enormously
Will you get with
painful.
people's nerves?
But
very quickly. Does that happen?
It got worse.
We want to know at this point basically if you're
Because-
smart, if you're funny,
And
if you
this
can
is just
learn
a
fast,
little
if you're
peek into the
interested in
corporate
ideas,
insanity.
and you have a decent conversation. Because basically at this point in time, we're trying to figure out whether we're going to
Somebody calls me on July 3rd. I've moved to the US. I'm trying to close. I'm doing contracts. My sofa's getting moved out. Watching my sofa go by. I'm on the phone in the UK negotiating deal. I get to the US and the first call I get is this. It's like, we're going to show the Blob at E3. I said, that's great. Don't you know it's not signed yet? Oh. Well, you better go fix it then. Well, that's July 4th weekend. Well, E3 starts July 5th, so TikTok Clarice. So I sort of threw myself on the mercy of the people involved, and I said, look guys, we really want to show it at E3. And I know we're not done yet, but can we really get to the point? And so what happened was, I think it was a net positive. It kind of lit the fire under everyone, including myself. Let's just get this deal done. I think there are some similarities to deals or any kind of major project, but you have to really kind of learn to dislike it before you really get it done. You have to get a healthy dislike, not hatred, but a healthy dislike. You want it done. And so I think a lot of people involved were kind of tired of all this go around. And it's like, okay, we've got to show this E3. We don't want to have to pull this because we're going to do the right thing. We can't get this done. We're going to pull it. But we're going to miss out all this great publicity. And so I just laid it out there. I said, guys, we screwed up. I'm the one that's telling us that. We screwed up. Somebody legal somewhere said yes. They should have talked to me. But this is the situation that presented. So with possibly the most, organized set of legal maneuverings outside a multinational corporate acquisition. Lawyers in 4 countries got on the phone, business development, and everybody from as well. And we just kind of got the contracts in place. We got everybody to nod their heads and say, okay, we're good. Good until 2 hours before it was meant to be done, and then I would get a phone call in the middle of the night saying we want changes. But that, apart from the fact, that's okay. These things happen. Time heals, and it got it done. And it may sound like a little bit of anticlimax, but you guys had 2 nights without sleep after a week or so of stress because you're really just trying to do the right thing by everybody. I really did want to make sure that everybody who was involved in Blob had this great kind of coming out party, both from the school and the students and even the city, to the guys in Blue Tongue who had spent some crunch time the month before because they wanted to take advantage of E3 too. Got it done. And what happened? Well, THQ got a very critically and highly acclaimed million-selling Wii franchise, and as I think JP pointed out in his introduction, it formed part of THQ's major presence on Wii at that time. THQ was the number one third-party publisher, and it's number two publisher after Nintendo. So, talent has a way of finding its a home, and so the students themselves, some of them from Ronimo Games, they've got on to do a few things. I mean, they're doing okay. And the school themselves are generating great graduates. The school got some help from THQ. I don't know how well that went. I'm told I wish it was better. The city still has no mascot. We tried. That's theirs. But, what happened in terms of games? Well, 1 million or more, because THQ is now no longer with us, I didn't get exact sales figures, apart from what it had already available to me. So, the first game by far was successful. And as THQ declined, and maybe also took on too much with the second for the Blob, which look at those sales figures go, well, that's not good. It's a shame, because the game is actually pretty good, second game. It just, when you go into multi-platform from a single platform, you got to get it right. Market timing, market commitment, some political goings on in the company really sort of held it back. But the great news is that with all of the terrible things going on with THQ latterly, there may yet be hope for more Blob games. As of a few days ago, a company called Nordic Games bought the rights to the Blob amongst a whole host of other THQ IPs. And hope springs eternal that they're looking to find developers for their IPs. I don't know if they're looking for more developers. Fingers crossed, it's not the end of the story. It's a great IP, I think it's a great story. I think a lot of people will be very proud about their involvement in it. And I hope that it's not the last time that we see a great student project become a great commercial reality. I know there's been other instances, but I'm particularly proud to be part of the genesis of the first Dutch named superhero character franchise. So, thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you. Can you put on one of these? Great, Andrew, thank you very much. It's really fun to hear some of these things again. I remember the 2 hour before the deal, kind of midnight phone calls with you, getting some last wishes, demands from the school. It was really a pain in the butt, I can really be honest with you, but I thought as a teacher for the school, I really felt this deal needed to happen because it was really important for the Netherlands, for the school, for self-confidence, and school students can get to the US with their games. So it was really, it was worth it in all the end. You showed that graph of your efforts. It's about the same with my phone bill. It was also about that graph. So it's basically, yeah, I recognize those figures. Are there any questions from the room here regarding what Andrew just told about publishers or about the Blob? Anybody? Joost? Hang on, I can help you.
Were there any concerns about the movie called Blob? Because we worried about that. You chose the name in the end anyway.
Not really.
The original horror movie?
That's a great question. It did come up.
Yeah.
But when I mentioned about is the IP clean, that's the sort of thing we look at. We run a search, and there, you get a list of danger, red flags that come in, and the movie itself was mentioned, but not really to an extent because it was a horror movie. there was, you look for the clear, we call it clear blue water between that and what you have. So is it going to look, does it look like it's inspired by the same author or the same material? Not really. I mean, yes, it has certainly not. There aren't many properties that are called Blob, and so it was definitely highlighted. But thankfully, no, it wasn't a problem.
But that's why you ended up having the DE, the Dutch DE, as part of the name.
That was actually made a big difference. I mean, we called it the Blob. That could have become a bigger problem. We were always really clear it was always the Blob, and I think that was part of making it sound unique within the marketplace as well as making it sound different from anything else Blob related.
It's also fun to know that actually 3 or 4 other publishers were trying to get the game, but they were just slightly behind THQ. I know Joost actually got some cash offers in emails, just basically upfront money. It's like, we'll buy it right now as is. So it was really fun how the internet and putting something online, I think it really started with a good blog. Because Joost wrote a really extensive blog in English, very easy to post with movies, and I think a download link to the actual game. So it distributed really fast. So instead of keeping things behind an NDA, like you said, they actually gave the game away, really, and that's how they got noticed. So, and I think that's how a lot of games get sold. Of course, there is a worry of getting copied, but I think if you're still ahead of the game, I think the Blob was also a game that you couldn't copy in a couple of months. It was something that was a little harder than a 2D game or something like that. But also thinking about Flambeer, who's being copied like there's no tomorrow. I think they also got successful with Super Crate Box by giving the first version away for free and then selling the second one on iOS. So there's a whole, it's kind of like an upside down world doing that way, because that's not the old publishing world. But this is really, I think you guys are one of the first ones to do that. Of course you could, because it was a student project and it was already paid for, but yeah, it worked. It worked for you. So, any other questions from the room or comments? Yeah, right there.
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
There are 2 ways of answering that question. One is what is the scientific way, which is the way that you have a financial model, that you have profitability associated with it, and therefore any asking price or any other price, any other expenses such as an IP purchase is then counted towards, and you decide how high you can go. In the Blob, I would say that the science wasn't the driving force, but, and something that I didn't really touch upon, we knew, because of the uncertainty as to the performance of the game, where Nintendo Wii itself was kind of an important market, the property was unproven, we really had to draw upon some fairly basic rules of thumb and just say, well, we want to do the right thing and make sure that everybody's happy. But okay, so we had an idea of what we could afford. So we had a range rather than a number, if you see right now. And there was this delicate initial exchange where I would sort of say, look, here's the number. And I'm not, with the idea of saying, what do you think? It's kind of a delicate little dance, because I'm not trying to sort of say, it's this or nothing. Because I wanted to listen to what the concerns were. Maybe there were other points of concern that could be dealt with. But it's a delicate little issue that has to be addressed with, I guess, a certain amount of integrity.
And normally you negotiate with one party. And now you had to negotiate with 3 parties.
I had 3 parties, but I did say, the impressive thing for me was, and of course I wasn't really privy to any of the internal Banana Games discussions, but
Oh wait, Banana Games was the name of the group.
Sorry.
That was the student group. Yeah.
yes, Banana Games. It was very impressive, and a lot of people noted that with T-shirt, just how well disciplined. So you came across, like there was no corporate entity. You were 9, 10 individuals trying to present a united front, and that wouldn't have happened. if somebody broke ranks.
GHQ also paid my phone bill. Thank you. Yeah, that was one part of the deal.
It wasn't happening unless we paid.
No,
the
but
phone bill.
it's if you look at the back of it and if you make a diagram of all the parties involved, it's just very complex. But I'm glad it worked out, Andrew. We're happy that it worked. I think for Ronimo, it kickstarted their studio, helped them buy their first hardware and get set up. It's also a story to inspire others, so I think it's a great story, and I'm really glad that you came here to share it with us. It's also good to know that Andrew is setting up shop with helping indies in California, but also Dutch indies who want to get connected to the US scene, the Silicon Valley scene, publishing scene. It's all revolved around San Francisco, where Andrew is located. So if you want to know more about that as well, feel free to contact Andrew. He will be here the next 2 days.
Yes.
And tomorrow we're doing a panel together as well on incubation. So thanks a lot. I want a warm applause for Andrew. Thank you. And so we have a 15-minute break, then we have 2 more talks. One is Bridget right here, will be speaking on this podium on also basically her experience in working in the game industry. Worked originally for the real Atari, the original real Atari with Nolan Bushnell, and she has a long career in the gaming field, starting with art creation and production, all sorts of stuff. She's going to share a little bit her tips and tricks on getting a job and how to keep one in the game industry. And on this podium, Yuri, I'm trying to remember what we have here. What? Oh yeah, Sarah Luden from Games. It's a casual game publisher in Germany who is going to be sharing a little bit about what their vision is on getting a job and keeping one. So take a quick break, leave your headsets here and get set up here for about 10 minutes. We'll be back.